long time ago. Got
Sorry.
it. So everybody, I have known Becky for, well, now it has been over 18 years. She is truly the queen of networking, and I just love her. She's been, as she mentioned, she is my networking partner, or mastermind partner. I said it right.
Yeah, I know.
But what's really great about Becky is that she knows how to build community. And let's face it, folks, even though I am the head of the DIY Marketing Center, nothing gets done alone in a vacuum. We, all businesses are built through communities, and Becky provides a great one. Becky and Alan and Lynn and Jean and everybody in the I Take the Lead universe. So if you are not already signed up with I Take the Lead, you've got to talk to Becky about how it can build your business, because it absolutely can. And as a matter of fact, I built my business from 0 to full as a business coach in 6 weeks, purely through networking. Now, I'm not going to talk about that story today. I don't even know why I mentioned it, because today I'm going to talk about how to introduce yourself like a rock star. And so I want to know from you. So who here, who's ready to stand out when you show up at networking events?
I know.
Anybody?
I am. Yeah.
Well, me too. Well, who's ready to learn how to make a great impression with an attention-getting introduction? No guitar amp needed. Although FYI, I have both, but they
Yes,
get very
please.
both. Yes, please. Yeah. Okay. So then let's do it. So welcome then to how to introduce yourself like a rock star. Today, you're going to learn 3 things. You're going to learn why people aren't referring business to you right now and how to change that immediately. You're also going to learn how to introduce yourself to anyone, anytime, anywhere, which is a really handy thing, because that means you can network outside of networking meetings. And finally, you're going to learn how to introduce yourself like a rock star at networking meetings. Okay. I'm very excited about this. Now, I want you to get a lot out of our time together. So I have 3 suggestions for you. Number 1, I suggest that you take notes. And I'm going to see if I can't move this. It's not happening. There we go. Okay. I suggest that you take notes, because those notes help you focus, help you track and identify the ideas that we're talking about, and also to figure out which are going to work for you. You know what? I've got guided notes. I don't know if I can get into the chat to post them.
I can. What are they?
Okay. So actually, I'm going to have to stop my share.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Think about this, and I am going to post my notes in the chat. Okay. So hang on just a sec. Oh, no. Do you ever just feel super stupid? So
Every time I touch a computer. But that's just me.
So it's what?
That's just me, though.
Oh, for crying out loud. I am not. So here's what I'm going to do.
Did you want to use them for the webinar, or I could send them
I thought that would be
afterwards?
really handy.
Oh, okay.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop a link to my website, to a page where there's some tools everyone can download. And I
Okay,
think
very
that those
cool.
are going to be really helpful for people. Just because, but even if you don't download them, at least take notes, because I think that's a smart thing to do. Now, let me get back to this.
Sure.
Okay, so number 1, take notes. Number 2, I want you to crush those ants. And it's not that I think that you have got bugs in your house. It's that a lot of us have these automatic negative thoughts. And when I say something, there is this response like, oh no, I can't do that. And the reason I'm telling you this is I taught networking for newbies every week for 10 years. I know what freaks people out about introducing themselves. I know how weird it is at networking meetings. And a lot of times people say, oh, I could never do that, or this won't work for me because of whatever. I'm going to ask you to put that thought aside and just soak it in. You can certainly make the decision not to follow my suggestions later, but during this meeting, I recommend that you just kind of open your heart and open your ears and crush those ants. Don't install any limiting beliefs or self-fulfilling prophecies here. You can do those on your own time, because you know what, when you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. And so when an ant pops up, I say, crush it. And
I
the
love
third thing, the third thing I suggest is that you ask questions, and you can interrupt me anytime, or you can post a question in the chat, and you'll mention, you'll let me know if there's a question in the chat. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so here are some of the things. These, for some reason, I can't upload these. I've got 2 downloads for you today. Number 1 is the instant introduction, how to introduce yourself to anyone, anytime, anywhere. And we're going to go through this. And there is a link in the chat to get this. The second one is my networking rockstar introduction tool. And we're going to be going through that as well.
Oh,
So
very
to get
cool.
started though, Becky, did you have a question?
No,
Just
Oh. no, I just have my pen. Yeah, sorry.
your pen, the magic pen. Okay, so let me ask everybody here a question. If you're not getting a lot of referrals from your networking meetings, do you know why?
'Cause I'm not
Do you go to a
asking.
lot of meetings? Yeah. So I think a
People
lot of
don't-
times, yeah, Lynn,
People don't know you're not letting people know what you do, or who you are.
you're absolutely right, Lynn. You're absolutely right. People aren't referring because they don't know who you are, and they don't know what you do, and they don't know how to help you. And so I think a response, sort of an ant around that, is that can't be true. I tell people my name and what I do absolutely every single week. So they must have memorized it by now, but maybe they haven't. Let me explain. So I cannot tell you how many people have sent this to me. Now, I'm a big fan of the movie Princess Bride. I love it, but this drives me crazy. So it's been shared thousands of times on social media, and most introductions follow this formula, and that's a problem. First of all, I got this off the original blog where this was developed. And he says this is the best opening line ever, because there's a polite greeting, there's a name, there's a personal link, and it manages expectations. Well, it's very cute and funny. However, if you use this model, you are going to get the exact same response that actually Inigo Montoya got when he used it.
They're gonna run away.
Like, wait, what?
They're gonna run away.
Yeah.
Although I did wear this as a name tag at church. It was a big hit there.
So the problem with that is that people don't understand what you're saying. You say hi and you say a name. And how many of you know another Inigo? That's a difficult name. And a lot of people don't know another Ronnie. And so people are always like, what? When you start with your name, you are going to weaken your introduction, and you're going to get fewer referrals. That is just the truth. And I'll tell you the reason why. It's because you're giving too much information too soon, or you're giving the information what I would consider in the wrong order. And that's what my introductions address, is you want to give things in the correct order. You also want to give things in a very conversational format. So it doesn't sound like I have just memorized this and I'm going to say it the same time, because that's not really very charming. So here's what we want to keep in mind. People are distracted in meetings. They're distracted pretty much anywhere. And if you just walk up to someone and say, hello, I am Inigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepare to die. People will be like, wait, what? And it's because they are distracted. Not everyone is distracted by the threat of murder. But when you go to a networking meeting, what are all the people around the table thinking of? They're not thinking, well, I'm going to give this lovely and charming person my full attention and do that 10 times for every single person. No, they're usually thinking, what am I going to say when I stand up? They're usually thinking, what am I going to order for breakfast or lunch? They're thinking, who do I know here? They're thinking, what's happening on my phone? It's buzzing or vibrating or doing or beeping. They're thinking, did I sit in the right place? They're thinking, this guy next to me is really pissing me off because he's pushing, my chair. They're thinking of their physical comfort. They're thinking, I'm cold, I'm hot, where's the bathroom, where's my keys, where's the bar? But what they're not thinking is, oh, what's your deal? They're not, because they're distracted by many other things. So if you start with your name, they ain't gonna hear it. And if you say something that does catch their ear, their response is going to be something, well, their response is just going to be essentially, oops, wait, what? Because like I said, it is too much too soon. And so what you want to do is you want to use a formula, but just not this one. Because remember, you are always talking to people who are distracted. And it's easier to ignore you or to forget your name or just to respond with a wait what. So here's what I suggest. I suggest that you are very careful about how you introduce yourself and you give the other person time and context to make sense of what you're saying and what you're doing, even though they know everybody's introducing themselves, maybe like around a table. Sometimes you won't be around the table. So let's start with this quick little introduction, how to introduce yourself to anyone. And as I mentioned before, the download, this instant introduction is available on my website for free. There's no, you don't have to sign up for anything. You can just download it. And so it starts with 4 simple steps, and we're going to go through those steps in detail in just a moment. First, I want to mention that what you're going to do, though, is you are going to get social permission to approach and to speak by making eye contact, positive eye contact. Positive eye contact is looking and smiling. And you're looking, and you might even nod. You might do a little eyebrow raise. There are a lot of different things you can do, but you want to make contact, but you don't want to scare the person. You don't want them to think that you were going to attack them with a hardcore sales message, because that's what a lot of us are afraid of. So, but this is not the RockStar introduction. This is just, we're gonna warm up to that. So this is the instant introduction. Now, while you're introducing yourself, I've got 2 more things to say. Maintain eye contact intermittently, but do not just stare them down. That is really creepy and weird, and it makes people feel threatened. And as a matter of fact, yeah, people, you're going to get a reputation if you do that crap. And
Old
so,
guys especially take notice of this.
yes. And then the last thing is I want you to follow this script exactly. And it's going to be super easy because there are only 4 steps. So just to remember, to remind you to prep, you're going to get social permission by making appropriate eye contact and some sort of, nod, smile, whatever, probably not a wink. You're going to maintain eye contact intermittently, and you're going to use my specific script. So it's pretty easy. Step 1, greet the person. Now you want to greet the other person simply and naturally, followed by a tiny pause for them to respond to you. Keep in mind that you won't always get a very big response, so you need to be prepared for that. So if they ignore you, or if they turn away, like they're on their phone or something, walk away. You're not trying to sell them something, and you're not trying to buy their kidney. Just leave it alone. But if they do give you social permission, then you can do something. It also is really helpful if you have a gesture. So the script is hi, and the gesture is a little wave, and you're kind of waiting for a response. And it's really brief. It's not like you're standing there for 12 seconds, like, what's happening? So it's hi. So, and then the second thing is to provide context for interrupting them. Now, what I like to do is this little shrug. So especially if you're in a networking environment, let's say you're at a big networking meeting and people are walking around. So you want to explain to them why you're approaching. And it isn't, hi, I'm looking for a sale. So what I suggest you say is, I don't think we've met, as if the purpose of going to a networking meeting is to meet people and make connections, because you know what? It is. And so I don't think we've met. And this is a very open and fresh and non-judgmental type of body language right here. I don't think we've met. And so, but you're not going to do this slowly. Again, this whole thing only takes a few seconds. And then step 3 is you're going to say your name and you're going to touch your heart. So like you're pointing to me. I don't suggest the double thumbs, this guy kind of thing. It could be charming. And I can see Alan doing this. And I've seen Lynn doing this. But what I would suggest for most people, so you've walked up and you said to somebody, hi, I don't think we've met. And then you can touch your heart or point to yourself. I like it when you point to your heart because that really brings you kind of back into yourself. And you just say your name. You say, I'm, and state your name. Now, if you need to have more context, you can say what company you're from, if that makes sense. Usually it doesn't, because we're not trying to do business. We are just meeting. We say, hi, I don't think we've met. I'm Ronnie Noize. Steps 1, 2, 3, pretty simple. And then the third step is the prompt. You want them to say their name. You say, and you are, and you extend your hand for them to shake. Now, I think people are going to be shaking their hands now. And if they are not, you can actually you can kind of give them a forward ta-da, like, and you are, that sort of thing. You don't have to do a handshake if you don't want to. This is super easy. You can use it anywhere. It is not aggressive. It is non-threatening, and it makes people feel a lot more comfortable. I have introduced myself to celebrities using this, and everything seems reasonable because I'm not asking for something. I'm just trying to connect and strike up a conversation. And I don't know if any of you guys are introverts, but I am. And for me, one of the scariest things about going to a meeting is not knowing anybody there and not knowing how to introduce myself. Well, now I know. And this is, I developed this little simple introduction to reduce my anxiety and to get me mingling and talking to people. And if you're like me and you're an introvert, I would suggest you look at some of the outlier people, some of the people who are standing alone, not knowing what to do, and meet them. I don't suggest charging into a big group of people who are already talking and saying, hey, hi, woo, because that's a little bit aggressive. But this is a really nice way to connect with somebody in a very low-key way, one-on-one. So, and it absolutely works, and people are surprised at how well it works and what a nice, calm, positive impression that it makes. So, questions about this introduction?
I have a question about the prompt, because
Yes.
I'm actually going to a networking event tonight, and I haven't done that in a very long time. So when you get to this prompt, I think my biggest problem is going to be not making somebody feel attacked by a handshake, but offering it anyway because I'm comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any insight on how the body language works for that in this?
Yes. So if anybody moves their hands away or like puts them behind their back, then they're probably uncomfortable. And I know a lot of people are. And so it's not, you could, of course, take hand sanitizer with you and be very obvious about putting it on, which is an idea. I mean, a couple of years ago, everybody was hand sanitizer. I bought a car 2 years ago, and it came with a bonus 5 bottles of hand sanitizer.
Oh, wow.
How crazy
I
is
will
that?
say, pulling on latex gloves is a no-no. It freaks people out.
It really does.
Yes.
So those little finger condoms do not work. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? Okay. So that's a really great question. But what you want to take your cues, and that's why at this prompt, you want to move your hand. And of course, if they don't take it, you can always just like do your thing. I'm kidding. What you could do is say, oh, right. And
yeah.
when you
that's
say,
good. Yeah.
yeah, when you use the word right, then they're not wrong. And you're not judging them for not wanting to shake hands.
Yeah.
So that's a really great word to have in your virtual back pocket. So when someone, so that they look at you like, what the, oh, right. And then you're golden. Did that answer your question? Yes.
Yeah, they did. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions before we move forward to how to introduce yourself like a rock star? Becky, if there's anything in the chat, you would mention it to me, right?
Yeah. No, there's no questions in the chat. I'm looking, see if anybody's unmuted themselves, but no.
So I think I've stunned everybody into silence. Yay, me. All right, let's move on now to how to introduce yourself like a rock star. And when I say like a rock star, I mean like somebody who was important, someone who was confident, someone who was bringing value, and someone who knows that their very presence at this meeting is desired. So this is not a shrinking violet thing. This is to introduce yourself like somebody everybody wants to know. And I know that this can be a little bit of a leap, especially for people who are introverts like me. But again, introverts like me need this type of a script or a template so that we can figure out what exactly do we want to do, because what's worse than going and saying, gosh, I wish I would have done something different or better. So preparation is going to be your best friend. And also, as a reminder, this is available for free on my website. You can download this formula. It's just a little fill out thing. So here is the quick little snapshot of what the RockStar introduction looks like. So what we do, and as you can see, that I've even put a couple of a gesture in here. But I want to encourage you to use gestures as often as possible when you are introducing yourself. And I'm even going to tell you a couple of secret things that's going to help you be even more effective when you stand up. Okay, so this is short. I think it's 7 or 8 lines, but it totally gets the job done. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And it also doesn't have to stay the same. As long as you hit the right beats, you can change stuff up all the time so that you don't get bored, and you can surprise and engage and enchant your market as well, or the people. You know, for example, if you're going to, and I take the lead meeting, you're going every week, and every week you have to introduce yourself. You can have a new element or several new elements in this model every single week. Okay, so let's look at the first piece. Okay, so the very yeah, here, this is a Lego. Well, and I also want you to know that these are in these little boxes because they're like Legos. And the first Lego is the qualifying question. And what I would suggest is that when you ask that you start with a question to get people's attention. But let's back up even. When it's time to introduce yourself, I recommend that you stand up and that you don't speak until you are fully standing. Then I recommend that you make eye contact with a couple of people on either side of the table. So you don't start talking as you stand up, well, everybody, blah, 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 blah. But you stand up, you look at a couple people, you smile, give yourself a moment, then you raise your hand. And at this moment, because there has been some people who were on their phones, talking to their neighbor, looking at the menu, eating their salad or whatever, staring off into space, this moment of silence with somebody standing at the table will create this vacuum. And so they will look at you and say, what is going on? And you're going to stand there and you're going to hold up your hand. You're going to show people what you want them to do, and you're going to ask a qualifying question. Now, here is one question. I have about 15 different questions that I ask at this point. This 15 different little Lego questions that I put up here. And so but this is just an example. So as you know, I'm a marketing coach and I help small business, well, you can see, attract more clients. So I'll raise my hand, and I've already waited a moment, and I say, how many of you are looking for new clients? And people look at each other and then they raise their hands. They're like, well, me. So you want to think of a qualifying question that people can say yes to. And I don't know what that is. So for you, that would be something that we would figure out if we ever work together, or maybe you already know this, but you want to ask a qualifying question. And this is going to be after a brief pause where you've gathered your confidence, you've made eye contact, and you sucked in the attention from everybody at this table. And then once some people have raised their hands, you say, now this is a little ad lib that I've added since I created this model, and it works great. So I say, how many of you are looking for new clients? All of you, that's great. Because I help small businesses attract more clients. And all of a sudden people are like, oh, now I understand why she said that. And she helps small businesses attract more clients. I will listen to her for one moment, only if she's interesting, because I may need clients. But that's all, that's the only thing. I'm not buying anything. Forget that. I'm just going to listen. Perfect. Then I say my name and my functional title. I don't say my name is, because that is juvenile. I say I'm Ronnie Noize, or Ronnie F. Noize. The F stands for frickin'. And now I'm the virtual marketing coach. I was a marketing coach. So that, and I have a functional title. I don't say owner and president of the DIY Marketing Center, because you know what, that is too much information and it's not important. I think everyone should have a functional title that describes what they do in some sort of an action way, an excitement way, and that also in a way that relates to my audience, my market. Then the next thing, the step 3, so which is actually the 4th Lego in this little stack here, is I talk about a good referral, but I don't say my ideal client, because ideal client is marketing lingo. And you are at a networking meeting to get referrals or to get leads. Is that true? Say yes.
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 That's right. You are at these meetings to get leads. So you want to say either a good lead or a good referral. I prefer the word referral for a variety of reasons, but let's just go with that now. You get to make your own decision, of course. A good referral for me is a small office, home office, business owner, independent sales rep, like a financial planner or a coach, like a massage therapist or a chiropractor, so on and so forth. But I only want to give like 2. And I can change this every single time. I can have somebody else in there. A good referral for me is, and then I can have something different. Because when people listen to me over and over, and I always say the same thing, they start to tune me out. And I'm sure you have a gigantic list of the types of people that you can help. It could be parents of redheads, people who own swimming pools, startup businesses, shoe stores, whatever it is, whoever it is you help. That you can, I'm sure there's a big list of them, and you can kind of mix it up every week. Then the next piece, step 4, is how they can recognize a good referral. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to mess with their brains. Yes. I'm going to ask you to use neurolinguistic programming and to embed a command, because you have their full attention. It's only been a few seconds, but they're looking at you, they're paying attention to you because you have talked about something that's important to them and something that they want. And so they're looking at you. So embed the command in their brains, there's unconscious, by instructing them how to recognize a good referral for you. And here's what it might look like. Yours can look, I don't know what yours will look like, but here's what mine looks like. You'll know it's the right time to refer. That's the command. You will know it is the right time to refer when you hear them say, and I quote a couple of things that are very commonly spoken by my clients. I love what I do, but I hate to market, or this economy is killing my business. So I've got these 2 things. I don't have a big laundry list. And I don't say, yeah, you'll know when it's time to refer when they make $32,000 and when they drive a Toyota and when they have, how are people supposed to know that? So thank you for laughing, Becky, because what people can only refer and recognize a good referral by what they see and hear.
But they do say stuff like that, and you know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what do your clients say? And keep in mind, most people are out there complaining or celebrating about something.
Yeah.
So someone's like, how's tricks? Well, I'm so glad, I'm glad I have my own business, but I mean, because I love what I do, but oh God, I hate to market. And so I have heard that said so many times myself personally. So that's why it's here. That's in my step 4, how to recognize a good referral. I have not only taught my listeners what to listen for, but I've very gently embedded that command in their amygdala. Then the next thing, step 5, the next little Lego piece, if you will, is to give them a call to action. And you know what? I keep forgetting about this. I have slides for this. So we got the qualifying question, and you can have it. I want to say something. You can have a different qualifying question every single time, which is very exciting, fun for you. Then you're going to have your elevator speech, which is your introduction, and as I mentioned, I think it's a really cool thing to say that's great because because I can help. And then there's your elevator. I help small businesses attract more clients. You have got an elevator speech to back that up. So, and then afterwards, you're going to say your name and functional title, real short. I'm Ronnie Noize, the virtual marketing coach. And I smack myself on my chest usually when I say that, because that's kind of how I do. And then the next thing, of course, is you're going to explain the referral identification. This is not your ideal client. I mean, it is, but you're not going to say ideal client. You'll know it's, so a good referral for me is blah, blah, blah. A good referral for me. I want you to use those words not my ideal client is. And as you'll notice on the little tool, the little worksheet that I have, I've actually put those words, a good referral for me, in your section of the worksheet, because I want you to use those exact words.
Ronnie, I think it's important because you're looking for an introduction. If they're thinking I need to find you the ideal client, they're narrowing it down and you're not going to get very many calls. You're just asking for an introduction. You'll determine if that's your ideal client once you meet them.
Lynn, you are so right on. You are not asking anyone to do your sales, do your qualifying, or do any work. Just listen. And when they hear something, say something, and just introduce you. Okay, so then when recognizing the referrals, this is the NLP command. You'll know it's the right time to refer when you hear them say, and then quote two of your clients and quote in first person. So you don't, so when they say they want this, when they say blah, when you hear them say, and then shift into, I love what I do, but I hate to market, an exact quote in first person from your market, from your best referrals. And then finally, we're going to go to a call to action. And so I didn't want to mention it, go to it. It was in that little overview that I showed you. Yours could be different. So for me, I prefer to have people do emails. So like a little joint email, but it could also be over social media if they're both involved. So, I want you to use these words. So remember, we've just come from, you'll know it's the right time when you hear them say, I love what I do, but I hate to market. When you hear them say that, simply introduce us by email and let me take it from there. Now, unless you have a better process, that would be, I suggest either email or introduce us on social, but you're looking for the introduction. You're not saying, tell them about my website, give them my business card, here, take a stack of my flyers or my brochure, mail it to them. You're not saying any of those things. You're asking for, as Lynn was saying earlier, you're asking for an introduction.
Yes.
And yes, yes, that is the stuff. That is the stuff. And then at the very end of this, what really powers it up and makes it a rock star again is you throw your hands in the air, you make two fists, and you say, thank you, Portland. Or if you're not actually on stage with a guitar and amps, you're still a rock star, but you're going to rock it and you're going to repeat your name and title at this point at the end. Then you say, I'm Ronnie Noize, although you're probably going to use your own name. I'm Becky Tamwell. So I would say, I'm Ronnie Noize, the virtual marketing coach. And this time people heard my name. They probably didn't hear it the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here is what it looks like. So this is all it is. It's 7, maybe 8 little short sentences. You have a lot of leeway to make these your own, but you want to remember some incredibly important things, because the beauty of this model is that you can customize it to reflect your personality, your business, your values, your vibe. It doesn't have to be long. It can even be shorter than this. And you can also change things. You can change the qualifying question. You can change, well, not your name and functional title and your elevator speech. Those two things have to be fairly consistent, but you can change the referral. You can change how to recognize. You can change how to refer, a little dangerous, but maybe you say it in a different way. And then at the end, you might even, do something fun when the final time you say your name. I don't know. Sometimes I like to add a middle name to mine, as you already heard today, with that middle initial of F, but you don't have to. But you just want to repeat your name at the end. Just do keep this format because it's designed to work with your listeners' brains. It's designed to help them listen to you, remember you, understand who and when to refer to you, and to really feel like they've made a connection with you. That is the deal here. It's an incredibly powerful, yet most of the most powerful things are very simple. And I recommend doing this. Now, here's something that people have told me before. They're like, well, I really like this, but it's kind of not our thing at our group. Nobody does that. Everyone stands up and says, hi, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. How boring is that? Well, I mean, it's cute and funny because of the Princess Bride, but people are going to forget your name. They're not going to know why you're talking and whether or not it has any meaning or resonance for them. So I suggest, I encourage, I advise you to create a rock star introduction of your own based on this model and try it out, and then change it up every week, make it a little bit different. And of course, when you are at these meetings, when everyone else introduces themselves, because you are prepared, because you know what you're going to say, you'll be able to really listen to everybody else as they introduce themselves. And you'll be able to identify people with whom you should be working or to whom you can refer, or whatever you need to do to connect at these meetings. This being prepared to introduce yourself well frees up a lot of time around that table for you. I mean, wouldn't you say, Becky, is that true?
Oh, absolutely. People, the one thing that they do too much of is talk too much and tell too much, and we stop listening.
Well,
the
and
people
also they
try to
don't always tell us stuff that we need to hear. Lynn, you were
Yeah.
saying?
people, a lot of them can't help but try to sell a little bit. They go into too much detail.
Yeah.
They start talking, they realize they have an audience, and they abuse the audience by
Yeah. How's that working out for them? Yeah, these are the same people who come to me and say, you know what, networking doesn't work.
well,
I've
one
gone
of
to
them
50 meetings and I haven't
What?
made a sale.
One of them I know gave up his business and went back in the army, so it didn't work out well.
Yikes.
Hey, Ronnie, I have
Go ahead, Kelly.
something to say. I listening to you, say about the name. I'm thinking I might switch out, just not even say my last name and switch it out for some sort of adjective, because people kind of get stuck. And if I say my first name really fast, it's just a bunch of vowels. It sounds like a bunch of vowels. So people just get distracted. Like,
Well, you are so right. Kelly, are you a Pacific Northwest native?
Yes.
So am I. And we both suffer from the very same thing, which is mush mouth. It's called West Coast mush mouth. And we don't always articulate every one of our words very clearly. And it just comes out in a slurry. I totally get that. And that's the other reason that we want to not say our name first, so it just doesn't come out sounding like gobbledygook and not making sense, because we say our name a lot and it just comes flying out and people can't always remember it. But when it's the third or fourth sentence, all of a sudden it comes out more correctly. And so, Kelly, how do you pronounce your last name? Is it Ayotte?
No, it's Ayot.
Ayot. Okay, well, so I know an Ayotte. But
It's French and meant to be difficult.
oh. So, you could even say, I'm Kelly with a French last name.
I'm the exotic.
Well, and they I would be like, I'm Kelly with the French last name. Oui. So, and then people will be like, oh, Kelly, she's a hoot. We love her. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
You're welcome. Kelly with the French last name. Okay.
Ronnie, can I just sort of piggyback on what Kelly was saying? Because I am about the functional title. Because you
Yes.
don't say I'm Ronnie, a marketing coach. You say the marketing coach. So
Right.
can you
Well, I
maybe
use
say
the
a little?
article. Yeah, I use the article to say I am one in a million, not one of many. So I am someone special. So I am the marketing coach. So,
Okay.
So you might say, do you have a functional title, Jessica?
Massage therapist.
That's your title. I mean, that is your job description title.
Right.
Is it?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know then.
Well, maybe it is like the physical de-stress massage therapist. I'm not sure, something. But then you
Okay.
put the article before so then it's like a brand name. And
Or you
that
say-
way.
Or you say, I'm Jessica and I'll never rub you the wrong way.
Okay, so there's the humor you warned me about.
Oh, Lynn.
All right. Okay, thank you, Lynn. Does that make
You know-
sense, Jessica? So
Yeah,
here's-
I'll give that one some thought too. Yeah.
yeah. So here's what I suggest. There is an exercise called the 20, and I think this could be valuable for everybody here. When you're wondering, like, what could I say? Could I have could I have a catchphrase, or could I have a functional title, or whatever? I suggest that you take a piece of paper and a pen, you can handwrite it, and then number 1 through 20, and then write down 20 ideas. It doesn't matter how stupid they are, or they can be very similar, just not exact. And the nice thing is, if you do that really, really fast, that is called a brain burner. And what that does is it stimulates your creativity in your brain, and it makes your brain search for the thing that will make you happy.
Hmm.
And so it's a really fast, fun exercise to do, and you can come up with a lot of ideas that way. And that way you'll be like, well, I didn't even know I was thinking of that. This is such a cool idea. And keep in mind, your functional title is how you want people to see you. It doesn't have to describe everything that you do every day. So good question, Jessica. Is there another? Jennifer, you're unmuted. Did you have a question?
No, I just realized I was unmuted. And well, I think that when I was muted, and I'm sorry, I don't know everybody's name, but the gentleman in the blue shirt who was wondering, I'm a handshaker too. I meet face to face and
Oh,
handshake.
Cedric, yeah.
That's the way I was raised, right? And so one fun thing to do is, if you put out your hand and you just sense their hesitation, is to put up your elbow, because you're offering another way to touch,
Mhm.
and people like that. They like that second option, and they don't have to use their hands directly.
Mhm.
So
Excellent suggestion.
Yeah.
And Jennifer knows, because her group has been meeting in person since the first of the year, so
Yeah.
she's used to it.
and that's my favorite way to network, and I am very old fashioned, and I do still like to shake hands. So I just love that. And if I feel that hesitation, I'm like, hey, and they'll bump your elbow, and they love it. They walk away with a smile.
Great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jennifer. Are there any other questions out there before we wrap this part of the meeting up?
I have
No, but just to kind of recap. So
But actually, Jennifer, did you say you have a question? Yes or no?
No, I don't have a question, but just to kind of recap, like our homework is to create our functional title that you just spoke about, and then try and come up with like 15 or 20. I think you were talking about that's in step 1, that how many of you are looking for come up with like 15 of those. Is that?
Sure. So what you could do, so whatever thing you want to work on, if it's your functional title and you don't have one that you're happy with, write out 20. If it's your qualifying question, write out 20. Just make sure they're short.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is, and the other thing, if you haven't already done so, is go to my website and download these tools so that you'll have the original documents to play with. And if you don't like to print them, which a lot of people don't like to print and don't like to handwrite, that's fine. I recommend going, if you haven't got the editable version of Adobe, you can go to pdfescape.com, and for free, you can upload any PDF and edit it online, and you can write in it and then save it. So that's pdfescape.com.
If for our new people, I'll go ahead. I will be sending out the replay, and I'll send the link as well in that, because new people, once it's been put in chat twice, 2 or 3 times already, so I don't know who's gotten it and who hasn't, but I'll make sure it's in there. So yeah.
Great. Thank you, Becky. So any other questions before we wrap it up?
Question.
Go ahead.
For some reason, it's not showing me. There we go.
Oh, there's
There's
Joyce.
Joyce. Hey,
Yes,
Joyce.
thank you. Hi. So I'm struggling with that functional title because I have is sort of a boring one. It's an independent insurance broker.
Mhm.
So I don't know how to do anything different than that. Do you have any suggestions?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
Just because my brain is not in that space in the moment. But I strongly recommend that the 20 exercise for you is like so the first one you would write is independent insurance broker. And then you might write, so if you have if there's a way you can attach that to your ideal client base, maybe you see if you can't wedge that in there.
Okay.
You could also try something that is more whimsical, like Empress of all time, space, dimension, and insurance. You know, but the reason I say stuff like that is not to be funny, but to be to encourage imagination, because obviously you're not going to use that one, but it might open a neural pathway to another idea that you had and forgot about. And so
Ronnie, one of your meetings, remember we had one guy say, "I'm Mike Irinaga, your insurance samurai."
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember that. I will never forget.
Yeah.
What a great 5 or 6 words that was. I still remember his name.
Yeah, Mike Irinaga, your insurance samurai. I will cut your insurance bill.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I used to be in insurance. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Cedric.
Oh, Joyce, I was just going to say, I used to be in insurance, and I like to talk about how my job was to protect people's belongings and to cover their liability. And there's probably some more artful way to say that, but
to cover their assets.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much just protecting people's things from like the worst things happening, I guess, right?
Right.
Well, I heard one person, again, the same line, say, I help keep you from having a bad day turning into a bad life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good idea.
I'm picking out why you're unique.
But keep in mind, this can be a slippery slope. We don't want to talk about ourselves too much, other than in the context of how we add value to our clients. And Lynn, thank you so much for bringing up Mike Irinaga, because he was saying, I'm Mike, the insurance samurai, you know, because he's of Asian descent. And then he had the chopping motion, and I'll chop your insurance, you know, bill next month or whatever it was. And it was just great, because instead of saying, look at me, I've got a cute little thing, he explained why he added, and how he added value.
And he threw that out at an in-person meeting with 185 people at it, and he was the hit.
Yeah, exactly. All right, my friends. So there is one more thing that I want to say. I just want to remind you, this is what we've talked about today, why people aren't referring and how to change that immediately. And I think that one takeaway you might say is don't say your name too soon. Talk about your client or your audience first by asking that qualifying question and getting them physically engaged, so that they're paying attention to you and they're not distracted by something else. And we talked about that real simple 4-step introduction to anyone. We also talked about the model of how to introduce yourself like a rock star. And there's one more thing I want to talk to you about today I want to hear from you. Shoot, we just keep talking. I've got a bonus download, which is my done for you DIY networking strategy cheat sheet. This is a little networking plan already done and completely customizable. You can download it and use it with my compliments. But Becky, I'm wondering, can we hear from a couple people about what was their number one takeaway from our discussion today?
Sure. Who's first? Oh, there we go.
My number one takeaway was just the functional title issue. I think that's a really big key, because that changes what you're saying and how you're trying to present yourself without just saying your name and what you do.
Thank you, Jennifer. And yeah, and also it's a positioning piece as well.
Yeah.
Super cool. Who's next? Jessica, go ahead.
Agree. The functional title. Also, for me, I had never considered before that a good referral is not necessarily an ideal client. So I want to spend some time thinking about that before my next networking meeting.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Alan, go ahead.
Biggest takeaway for me was the difference between hi, my name is, and I'm, just I'm Alan Pershing. So that's another slippery slope that I find myself saying, hi, my name is, and I like that you pointed that out, that's juvenile. It's like, ooh.
Well,
Ooh.
but it's also, don't beat yourself up, Alan, because it's really common. So I
Yeah.
want you to imagine your middle name is Frickin', only he didn't say Frickin', to quote Guardians of the Galaxy. And just imagine, what if you were somebody like super important and well-known and celebrity? And so you might say something, you might be thinking to yourself, I'm Alan Frickin' Pershing. Yes, that Alan. That's me, baby. So that you come across with complete confidence, and people won't see that as arrogance. They'll see that as friendliness.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Who's next with the takeaway? Go
I
ahead, Sid.
will. Oh, I'm sorry, Cedric, go for it.
Okay, I'll be quick. One thing that I noticed in almost every section of the killer interview or the killer the RockStar introduction is that you invite somebody to think about themselves while you're talking. And I feel like that's really hard to do and important.
Yes, so on the nose. Absolutely. Most of us think we have to stand up and sell ourselves, and you don't. The only place you're going to have to sell yourself is on a street corner. Because when you're in a networking meeting, you are selling relief, you are selling solutions, you are selling help. You're not selling yourself. You are not for sale, but people sure can buy peace of mind and relief and whatever it is that you're selling. So thank you for noticing that, Cedric. I'm really glad you mentioned that. A lot of times that just goes over most people's heads.
And who was the other one? Was it Sandra?
It was.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Sorry about that. All right. So one thing that I noted in my notes here that was phenomenal that I didn't even think about either was, Ronnie, you said that when you have your scripting down, you can hear other conversations in the room. You're not limiting yourself at that one moment to only one person, but maybe you're listening to the conversation next door, and maybe they're saying something that they can benefit from your next conversation with them too. So that was amazing. I like that.
Sandra, thanks. I'm glad. That's great. So I think we have room for one more.
Levi,
Kelly with
did
the
I
French
see your
last
hand
name.
up?
Isn't she
Oh,
going to say anything? I'm teasing you, Kelly. You don't have to say a darn word. I'm sorry, Becky. I spoke over you. Go ahead.
No, I said, Levi, did I see your hand up? No. Levi always is up for talking.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know if.
Oh, no, go ahead,
Oh,
Sarah.
Go ahead.
First of all, I thought this presentation was super fantastic because I think that it's often talked a lot about what language you're using, not necessarily what body language you're using, right? And so I appreciated the way that you approached introducing yourself and how you gesture, and then just the openness and being like, it's not just approachable verbal language, it's approachable body language, or else without both of them, you're not going to get the introduction that you want. So I thought that was super cool.
Well, thank you for recognizing that, Sarah.
Well, thanks, Sarah. And Sarah's our brand new member. She just joined this morning, so, or maybe it's this afternoon. So, yeah, Sarah.
Excellent. But Sarah's absolutely right. And I think a lot of us don't realize that if we are not physically saying the same thing that we're saying verbally, that our credibility takes a hit, that we're less trustworthy. So eye contact, gestures, posture, everything. Well, Becky, I think that's it. It's been really fun meeting with everybody.
Thank you. It went by too fast.
It was super fun.
I know. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And thanks so much, Ronnie. I really, really appreciate you. We all do. So
Thank you, Ronnie.
thank you.
Thanks, Ronnie. Thanks, Becky.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Thank you.
We will be getting the replay out to you all. So
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
bye-bye.
Bye.
See y'all soon.
Ronnie, that was great. I really appreciate all of that. I like having that clear format. So
Oh, Heather, thank you. I appreciate that.
know, I always think I'm ready and then I go there and I end up just like throwing all the spaghetti out there. So thank you.
Everybody does until
know.
we get a grip.
I love this format.
This is
Glad to
great.
hear.
Yeah, thank you, Ronnie.
Bye.
You're welcome,
Bye.
Alan. And Alan, what's your middle name again?
Freaking.
Yeah, right, it is. It's like we're twins.
Right? I'm telling you, from 4 to 13, I swear it was that actually, but maybe a little older, but
Oh, you guys.
You
Crack me
guys.
up. This was fun.
It was
yeah,
fun.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Vic.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.